Thank you for your patience. We're going to get started in just about 2 minutes. Give our other community members some time to log on. Again, thank you for being here. We're going to get started in just 1 minute. Okay, it is now 5 o'clock. So let's go ahead and get started with the presentation. As you see in front of you on the screen, this is a presentation that is being provided by our English Language Support Services Department. And we're going to talk all about how to support the academic excellence of our bilingual students. So first, I want to just start off by saying thank you for being here on behalf of the Board of Education for the Auburn Unified School District. We know that we can't maximize your child's education and have them reach high levels of academic excellence without your partnership. So we thank you for being here. We know that all of these meetings that you attend, the 30 minutes here, the half hour there, the hour at a meeting, it might not seem like much, but added up over 13 years of a child's school, there's been decades of research that shows that this really makes a difference for a child's outcomes and success, get them to graduate, get them to go and be successful in college or their employment, whatever they decide to do. So thank you for being here. We want to make sure that this session is interactive and we're not just talking at you for a full hour. So you'll notice that we do have on your Zoom options, you have a question and answer that's monitored continuously. We'll address it either at the end of the session, but then also if a question comes up, put it into the question and answer, the Q&A, or put it into the chat box and we'll address it as it comes up. If you don't want to type out your question, but you would like to actually speak it, you can raise your hand. It's on your Zoom options. And you can, I'll ask you to unmute your device, and you can ask your question verbally. The session is also being live streamed. It's being recorded, and it's going to be made available on our YouTube page. So if you need to leave, that's fine. You're not going to miss out much if you come back and you watch it on our YouTube page. So we understand that this is a busy time, so feel free to leave and come back. If you need this information in Spanish, si necesitan información en español, en la parte inferior, la parte de abajo de su pantalla, verá un globo, una esfera que dice Interpretation. Ahí puede cambiar el idioma de inglés a español. So if you need this information in Spanish, click it to Spanish. Si no ve la esfera, el globito, podría haber 3 puntos que dicen More o más. Y a través de esa opción verá Interpretation e incluso podrá cambiar el idioma de inglés a español. First, welcome to Auburn Unified School District. Whether you are new to the district, new to your school, we know we have a lot of families who are new to the country, we want to give an official welcome. Or if you've been in the school district for years, welcome to the new school year. It is a lot. This is a very exciting time of the year. There's all this energy, but we just want to say on behalf of Albert, welcome. Here is a little bit of what we are going to be talking about. And when I say we, I have wonderful presenters that are going to be sharing with you all today here in the room with us. We're going to be sharing about the California English Learners Roadmap and what that is and how it supports our students. We're going to share tools for developing language, and we're going to share other community resources. So I'd like to introduce and ask Ms. Marta Martinez, our Director of English Learner Support Services Department, to unmute and share a little bit about the California English Learner Roadmap. Marta?
Well, good afternoon and thank you. Thank you to everyone who's joined us this afternoon. I always ask, and I know that it might not be what you can do, but if you are able to, what do you call it, show video, it's always lovely to see your faces, to engage in that way. So if you're at all possible to turn on your video, we'd love to see you. But yes, I'm Marta Martinez. I'm the director of our English Learner and Dual Language Immersion programs. Bienvenidos. Muchas gracias por estar aquí. There is a message in the chat, Dr. Cisneros. I think it's about interpretation. I briefly glanced at it. I apologize. So we can support our members this afternoon. So bienvenidos. Muchas gracias. We do have interpretation.
Yeah, I do need to address that. Patia, I believe your microphone is turned off. Patia, can you say something? I can't hear you. No, it's not. It's not working. Let me make sure I'm on the Spanish channel.
So while they're figuring all that out, mientras están tratando de ayudar con la interpretación, primeramente, bienvenidos y muchas gracias por estar aquí con nosotros. Were we able to help out with the interpret? It's all good? All right, awesome.
Thank you.
Excellent. Muy bien, gracias. And Ms. Arvide will do an amazing job at interpreting, and it'll sound much more beautiful actually from her. So thank you, Ms. Arvide, for providing that support. And thank you to our guests this afternoon for letting us know. So we're going to talk about the California English Learner Roadmap and what is it. And this afternoon, also I do have Ms. Ridge Creek, who will all introduce herself. Ingrid, would you like to do that at this point?
Yes. Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Ingrid Ridge-Creek. I'm a community worker here in the English Learner Support Services Department. And I'll be discussing with you a little bit later about resources. So thank you for being here with us today.
So as Dr. Cisneros mentioned, we're going to chat a little bit about the California English Learner Roadmap. And what is it? It is policy that the state of California adopted in 2017. And this policy is meant to help school districts in providing quality programs that support the teaching and learning of English learners. So we're going to look at what it is, and then we're going to dive into one section of it. So we're actually, Dr. Cisneros is going to put on or play a video, a short video. Grab your popcorn, enjoy. And this will tell us all about what is the California English Learner Roadmap. Again, it's short, but grab some beverage or a video and enjoy.
Is the new policy for English learners in the state of California. It supersedes the old Proposition 227 policy and puts in place instead a common mission and vision for all of our schools and a roadmap for how to get there. That roadmap consists of 4 research-based principles, which really speak to the different aspects of what we have to put in place and the connections between the two. And those principles are, number 1, asset-based education that values and builds on the languages and cultures students bring and that provides them with truly affirming and safe, welcoming schools. This is an era that is about embracing the languages and the cultures children bring and providing all of our students, to the extent we can, with opportunities to develop proficiency in 2 or more languages. The second principle really speaks to the quality of the intellectual work that our children are exposed to in their classrooms, of the quality of teaching and learning. High-level standards with meaningful access provided by teachers who know how to scaffold participation and support our students in really participating in class and mastering everything they need to, overcoming language barriers, learning the English they need. And it also speaks to the importance of us assuring access to all of those college preparatory classes that every child needs in order to leave our high schools, college, and career ready. Principle number 3 is about investing in a system with the resources, the assessments, with the professional development, the leadership development that we need in order to carry off the kind of teaching and learning that our students require. Systems includes everything from, do we have assessments that really tell us whether our children are learning and what's happening to them in both of their languages and in ways that are really reliable information for teachers and for accountability. Systems includes having the teaching staff with the skills needed to meet the needs of their English learners and the processes of professional development and professional support for them so they can continue to learn the skills they need. Systems is about having leadership that understand English learner needs and are prepared with the skills and the approaches to really act upon that knowledge and to hold their schools accountable for moving along a path of continuous improvement toward the goals of the kind of schools we need. If we don't make those investments, it ends up just being pretty words on a page. And that's where it really falls to everybody at the local level to see to it that this roadmap guides our financial planning, our local control accountability planning, and our own school site planning. And the fourth principle is about an articulated system, a connected system from preschool all the way through to high school graduation, all moving in the same direction to ensure that our students get the education they need. Alignment and articulation all the way from preschool through graduation from high school. Coherence across the system, so what happens in one school is connected to what happens in another school, and so as children move from grade to grade to grade, they're receiving a pathway of education that is connected, aligned, and coordinated. What we know now is that early education is a crucial part of our system, that we have to start early when those brains are just wired for language and cognitive development, those crucial years that build a foundation for later success. That we need a system that invests in early childhood education and connects it all the way up in a pathway through to high school graduation. What the roadmap tries to do is to lay out a comprehensive view of all the things that would be happening to really support English learners. Everything from ensuring access to ensuring the quality of education, to seeing to it that teachers have the skills they need to pull that off, to seeing to it that there's assessment that is reliable and valid for them. By painting that comprehensive picture of what needs to be in place, and by saying, as a state, we're reaching toward this vision of education that prepares our kids with 21st century skills, with proficiency in multiple languages, we are all moving together on a road toward the same goal.
And as Dr. Lori Olson mentioned in the video, there are 4 principles to this policy, 4 principles to guide the work centered around supporting our English learner students. And one of the things that you will see in this presentation as we move forward, this one speaks to what is the English learner roadmap and why does it matter. But as we go to the next slides, you'll see each of the principles on each of the slides. So the first principle, which is assets-oriented, need-responsive schools. On here, you will see that I'm not going to go through all this because we like to delve into an activity, but you could see here, it's broken down to what is this? Why does it matter for my child? And how can I help as a parent? And each of the principles is broken down in this matter. So if we go to the next, the third and fourth, the same. the principal, and then what this means for my child and how I can help. So here's some information regarding the California English Learner Roadmap. And the next one after that, you'll find all of them in Dr. Cisneros, if we can move on to there we go. Thank you. You'll find all of them here. And one of the things that we are going to facilitate the conversation on today is principle number 1, assets-oriented, needs-responsive schools. So as we work with our schools to continue to elevate a child's language and culture, whatever that might be, and ensure that we see them as assets to their education and to our community, we want to also encourage our families to have an awareness and start that dialogue, if you haven't, with your children at home. We are educational partners, and what happens in the home is equally as valuable for that child's education as what happens in school. So if you see, when we look at the next slide, we're going to have some opportunities to dialogue. And I do hope that everyone feels comfortable. Maybe again, just an encouragement that if you're able to, like Dora Rayo Garcia, thank you. I can see you. That's a beautiful thing. She has her video on. I love it. It gets me really happy. And so as we encourage the dialogue of how do we as parents see our own culture, our children's culture, and how do we help them elevate their culture while providing space for others? Right? How do we acknowledge and celebrate our own culture while we celebrate the fact that we live in a multilingual, multicultural society? And just really quick, Dr. Cisneros, if you are able to click on the talk, read, and sing together, you will note that we also have the link of this document in Spanish as well. And I love this document because it's quick and easy. Parents, we are super busy, right? There's lots going on. And this is just some great suggestions from the department, the California Department of Education, in regards to what we can do as parents in the home, right? Use our native language at home, tell stories and sing songs, share books, and there we go. I could see it a little bit better. Thank you. Tell stories. And one of the things that I was sharing with my colleague here, Mrs. Rich Creek, is that growing up, we didn't have books in the home, unfortunately. That's just not what we had. But every night when we were little, my mama would tell us stories about her upbringing and her experience in Sonora and Chihuahua, and it just opened up our world, right? Those stories that she would tell us. And so as we look at these activities, again, a reminder that this resource is also provided to you in Spanish. So if we go back to our main, thank you, Ms. Ingrid, you provided the link in the chat. Just wonderful resources. And I got all of these resources from the U.S. Department of Education. You could see the link back there. So if you're curious, what else can I do? They have so many resources in terms of how do I support my child through if they're developing biliteracy, how do I support my child in early years as opposed to older, a young adulthood. And so as we look at this, one of the things we're going to ask is we're going to ask you to share your experiences. And before we jump into that, we're going to take a little bit of time to share our own. So I will start, and then Dr. Cisneros will share his, and then Ms. Rich Creek will as well. So as I mentioned earlier, when I was growing up, one of the things that I recall, and yes, I'm rather old, so not everything do I recall, but one of the things I recall is my father's pride in being from Mexico, from Jalisco, Guadalajara, his pride in the Spanish language, and it wrapped itself, that pride that my dad instilled in us, wrapped itself as a cloak around us, a protective cloak that helped us as we navigated this world, as we started to learn English and started to go into the community and realize that not everyone saw the fact that we spoke Spanish as an asset. Not everyone in the community or even in educational system at that time embraced us with pride because we spoke Spanish, because we came from a very traditional family. It was hard sometimes navigating those two worlds, right? But that pride that my father, mi papá, instilled in us, it protected all of us. And there is a lot of research and some sayings that say that when you don't know who you are or where you're come from, you spend a whole lifetime searching for yourself. And it is in that search that potentially we can get lost, right? So having that strong foundation, that love of your parents, your grandparents, your tradition, while also embracing this new opportunity, this new adventure into a new culture, a new language. So that was my experience. Mrs. Rich Creek, would you like to? Oh, it's Dr. Cisneros who will share his experience.
But we can have Miss Rich Creek share as well, that's fine.
We're going to end with hers because she's going to talk about when I came, when my parents immigrated to the United States, I was 3 years old. Right? So that's a different experience. And so we're going to share a little bit, and then Ms. Rich Creek is going to talk about her experience as it differs a little bit.
Yeah. So I also came from Mexico when I was 3 years old. I was born in Autlán de Navarro, Jalisco, orgullosamente mexicano. And when I grew up in Southern California, as a child, I wanted to integrate and assimilate. I don't think I was very proud of my Mexican heritage. I didn't know much about it. And so my name is Alejandro, but when I was growing up, I asked to be called Alex, because in my mind, Alex was a lot more American than Alejandro was. And I also remember being jealous, and jealous is the right word, of my cousins whose mom, my tia, my auntie, would take them to McDonald's and would take them to Carl's Jr., would take them to Pizza Hut, because for me and my family, it was hay frijoles en la casa, right? En la casa, we have pollito, we have sopita, we have albóndigas, and I didn't honor that, I didn't treasure that, because I wanted to fit into, the dominant culture and just be more American. But what my parents did do, that I think was able to salvage in me my pride in being Mexican, is all of the TV that we watched was in Spanish, right? Sábado Gigante got me through the weekends, right? And Siempre en Domingo as well. Well, my dad was very much a novelero, and so I watched all the Thalía, like Marimar, Amalia del Barrio, and RBD, and all of those, right? And my mom, through her culture, through her food, would imbue in me this culture that at first I wanted to push away. Now I'm thankful for her. And we would, we would go to Mexico when we were able to adjust our status, because we were undocumented for a long time and we weren't able to leave the country. And so through those, even just that passive, like watching the shows from our country, eating the food from our country, my family was very much able to instill in me that foundation of who we are. And music was always playing in my house. So I grew up on, Vicente and Ramon Ayala and Los Tigres and all of that, knowing this is what my culture sounded like. And so now that I'm an adult and I'm older, I'm very thankful for those experiences, because if left to my own devices, I probably would have pushed away, and I would have, had more complicated relationship with myself.
And as we go to Mrs. Richweek to also share her experience, I do want to reiterate that we both, Dr. Cisneros and I, arrived to this country about the same age, 3, you said, right, Dr. Cisneros? Yet we had very different experiences. Now, mind you, I'm a lot older than him, so there was probably a decade difference in this, but very, very different experience, because my family was completely opposite. They were adamant that it was aquí solo se habla español. We only speak English here in the home. We're proud to be who we are. We're only here temporarily. We're going to end up going back to, Mexico. And that was always in the back of my mind, right? So it's what we do in the home matters. It's very impactful. And so with that, Mrs. Richpeek, you're going to share your experience.
Yes, thank you, everyone. So my experience was a little bit different, or a lot. I came when I was 15 or almost 16. So I was placed in 10th grade. So, I totally understand what a student goes through at that age. It was very difficult for me to even imagine that I would be able to speak English. And at that time, we used dictionaries. I had to look up every word. Sábado Gigantes got me through a lot of Saturdays. So I totally understand. But it's that longing that you have, I back in my country, I used to listen to music in English and so on. When I came here, I became very longing for those things that I was missing: family, food, music, marimba. So it's it was a rough spot. So I totally understand from the point of view of a student, especially older ones, what it is to have to learn the language while getting adjusted to, meeting requirements. I went to every summer school, adult school. So I know that it's hard, but it helped me to have pride in my culture. Actually, I felt like usually I was the only Guatemalan around. I was surrounded by a lot of other countries, but I felt like I needed to represent my country and do a good job. So, and I didn't really have to give up my culture, because I saw that the skills that I had acquired in the Spanish language, it was beautiful. It actually helped me to enhance and catch up to the English language faster. By the way, I'm still learning. But and that's why I like these conversations, because you don't have to give up your culture. We actually, there is a strength in using that and being proud of who you are. And so, thank you.
Right, and I just want to also highlight that Miss Richcreek came when she was a teenager, and she, it sounds like you kind of struggled with the English and the Spanish and with culture and all of that. But Miss Richcreek just recently graduated with her master's degree of counseling, Master's of Education. So congratulations. She said, you can keep your culture and be academically excellent. Miss Martinez, I'm going to give you a shout out. Miss Martinez is 1 year away from being Dr. Martinez, right? And then if I can maybe pat myself on the back, I recently, a couple of years ago, three years ago, I received my doctoral degree too. So it is both true that you can honor your country and your culture and be academically excellent. And that's what we are bringing to our students and our schools. Ms. Martinez, future Doctora Martinez, would you like to take us into this next round of conversation?
Yes, and so super excited and La señora Dora, she went away from the camera, but we have Anayeli who did turn on her camera. I do encourage you again. I'm going to encourage you again for this next part. We are going to have a conversation. We'd like to hear from you. This is an opportunity for you to tell us, and the group here this afternoon is what has been your experience in regards to culture? How have you been able to hold on to elevate your own culture while taking the opportunity of learning other cultures? If someone would like to brave the microphone and unmute and share with us, excuse me, your story. And I'm wondering if we could potentially, might we be able to do it? Would anyone be opposed to having the whole group come back and then we do Spanish, English at the same time, whatever language they are comfortable with? ¿Quién va a ser el primero o la primera? A ver.
En español está bien.
La persona con el nombre Isabela. It's a beautiful name. Might you lead us off in this conversation? We're going to start naming people, huh? We want to know a little bit about your story so that we all can grow. We learn from each other.
Hola, hola, regresé. No me dejaba entrar el teléfono, no me dejaba prender mi audio. Es por
Ok.
eso que no contestaba a tiempo. La verdad, acabo de entrar a la sesión. Estaba ocupada, no pude entrar antes, entonces no puedo opinar mucho porque apenas me estoy empapando, apenas estoy escuchando de lo que están hablando.
Mire, la pregunta era si usted podría comentar o decirnos un poco cuál fue su experiencia o la experiencia de sus hijos al desarrollar su cultura mientras están también aprendiendo la cultura nueva, ¿verdad? ¿Cómo podemos, how can we elevate a nuestra propia cultura mientras estamos a la misma vez demostrando curiosidad para otras culturas y idiomas?
Sí, yo pienso que el primero es no avergonzarnos el poder hablar el idioma, el inculcarles a nuestros hijos, que sigan hablando el español, que no lo pierdan, pero también motivarlos a que hablen el inglés. Al final de cuentas, estamos en este país donde el idioma principal es el inglés, motivarlos a que lo hablen, pero siempre también motivarlos a que sigan hablando el español y que al final de cuentas va a ser algo muy bueno para ellos el que sean bilingües en un futuro, en un trabajo. Ya, de hecho, ya ahorita lo estamos viendo que en los trabajos una persona que es bilingüe tiene mayor oportunidades que las que solamente hablan un solo idioma.
Perfecto, señora Isabela. Eso es lo que dicen las personas, los científicos que estudian cultura y lenguaje, ¿verdad?
Ajá.
Que eso es lo que debemos de tratar de asegurar que nuestros hijos puedan utilizar ese idioma, puedan desarrollar su primer idioma o el idioma del hogar, mientras están también aprendiendo inglés, porque obviamente sí es importante, como lo dijo. Exacto. Y tengo a la señora Maribel con la mano raised hand, levantada, no sé si se dice así, pero me imagino que quiere ella también agregar algo a a la conversación que estamos teniendo.
Hola, buenas tardes.
Buenas
Sí,
tardes.
sí, en efecto, es algo complicado. Nosotros también acabamos de llegar, no tengo mucho, yo tengo un año en Estados Unidos. Llegamos al distrito de Santana, donde realmente fue fácil porque realmente mis hijos pues hablaban puro español, todos hablaban español en Santana. Realmente el reto ha sido en enero que nos movimos aquí al distrito de Albert. Aquí fue donde mis hijos experimentaron el verdadero reto, hasta bajaron un poco de calificaciones porque todas las clases en inglés. Fue como entrar duro. Mi hija no lo habla en este momento todavía, pero está en proceso, está como en esa parte de que ya lo lee y lo entiende, le hablan y lo entiende, lo capta más o menos, le falta animarse al speaking. Creo que yo también estoy en este proceso, estoy igual que ellos, o sea, en los exámenes me ponen y avanzadísima en escritura, avanzada en lectura, pero en listen más o menos, pero cuando quiero hablar me atoro todavía porque queremos estructurar como pensamos en español. Entonces en español le explicamos mucho y ahora dígame que le explique todo esto en inglés, es duro, es complicado, pero pienso que también las escuelas brindan mucha ayuda. Pienso que, por ejemplo, ahorita me acaban de hablar para que la niña esté por las mañanas como en tutorías de lectura, de club de lectura en inglés, y eso digo, no, eso es lo genial, porque toman mucho vocabulario y realmente, pues, en el caso de mis dos hijos mayores, ellos ya vienen con todo el español, pero armado. Ahora necesitamos la adquisición de un idioma nuevo. Y créame que sí es duro. He escuchado anécdotas que en un año hablan. Esperemos.
Muchas gracias, señora Maribel. And so some of the things that our two parents have shared with Miss Isabella's sharing how it's so critical to support in the home language, as well as develop and support the development of the English language. Mrs. Maribel expressed the same thing, saying that, you know, it's been a little challenging for her children because when they first came to the United States, they attended a district that's heavily Spanish speaking, Santana. And when the students came to this district, they experienced some challenges because all the academics were in English. And so those are the challenges we face. And one of the things that we see traditionally is that the students that come to school in TK and K with the potential gift of biliteracy or multiliteracy, let's say their home language is Spanish or Vietnamese or Cambodian, Arabic, by the time they're in fourth grade, students typically refuse to use the home language, right? And so they are now focused on using English, which of course we want them to be comfortable and grow in proficiency in English. But that potential gift of biliteracy is usually lost. And that's what we want to talk about today. How do we as parents in the home develop the love of our home language, of our culture, while also giving space and opportunity for other cultures and other languages? Anyone else? I see a hand with anyone else? We would love to hear more from you. What other experiences? First of all, thank you, Isabella, and thank you, Maribel, for braving the microphone. I appreciate you. Is there anyone else? ¿Quién más? ¿Quién más?
Yo me llamo Ruth, no está mi nombre ahí.
Okay. Muchas gracias,
Am,
Ruth. Bienvenida.
Gracias. Pues de igual forma, creo que algo que nos puede ayudar mucho, yo tengo dos niños, los dos son nacidos acá, pero empecé con mi niña también en Orange County. en una escuela de español e inglés, de los dos idiomas. En la mañana se enfocaban en español y la segunda parte de la escuela era solo inglés. Y le ayudó mucho a mi hija, mucho, mucho. Pero una de las cosas que nos ayuda en casa es, tenemos reglas. Y regla número uno en casa es que no hablamos inglés en casa. Entonces, claro, hay tareas y en esta escuela estamos en Lake Hills. En esta escuela pues no hay dos idiomas, pero mi niña sabe que cualquier cosa, aunque yo más o menos también vine pequeña a Estados Unidos y entiendo muchas cosas, le trato de decir, si tú me explicas en español, yo voy a entenderte mejor y vamos a ver cómo le hacemos para poder hablar con los maestros o para que yo pueda entender lo que tú me quieres decir. De hecho, yo les pienso que nosotros como papás influenciamos mucho en lo que hablamos con ellos todo el tiempo. Y mis hijos van a mi país, Guatemala, todo el tiempo. Entonces yo les digo, en Guatemala no vas a encontrar personas que hablen inglés. Entonces tú tienes que expresarte en español porque tienes que sentirte orgullosa de que eres latina y de que esto te va a abrir una puerta mejor adelante. Y mi niño, el pequeño, es su primer año en TK, en Lake Hills, pero él habla solo español. Entonces, le está costando un poco ahora a entender inglés, escribirlo y poder expresar, usar sus palabras en inglés. Entonces, es cuestión yo le digo, puede que sea difícil, pero como ustedes dicen, al tercer grado, cuarto grado, ellos agarran perfectamente el inglés. They catch up really fast. Entonces, pues no puedo decirle, va a su ritmo el niño, el pequeño. No lo fuerzo y poco a poco, aunque yo cuando hablo con los maestros, pues sí hablo con ellos en inglés. Pero regla número uno en casa es que aquí no hablamos inglés en casa, sino solamente español para que no olviden sus raíces. No olviden que su primer idioma es español y que en el futuro les va a ayudar. Mis hijos, nosotros somos cristianos, entonces tienen la Biblia bilingüe, la niña. Entonces la hago que lea en español y en inglés, las dos. Tiene libros en español en casa y en inglés. Entonces, ocuparlos con libros bilingües de los dos idiomas, que puedan ver contenido en la televisión con los dos idiomas y eso pues hace que no pierdan mucho el idioma.
Le agradezco, señora Ruth, muchas gracias. Y qué bonito, ¿verdad? And that's exactly, our parent just indicated similarly that newer to the country, and when they first started, they started in it sounds like a bilingual program. Miss Ruth, we do have dual language immersion programs here in our district. If you'd like to know more about it, maybe Mrs. Rich Creek could drop the phone number in the chat. But that's you all know exactly, right? What the researchers, the scientists are saying, that for a child to feel good about themselves, it starts in the home. Sharing the pride of our culture, our language, whatever that culture and language might be, right? Sharing that pride, but while also being open and curious about other cultures and other languages, right? So that's two things we're talking about. Being proud of our culture and curious and open to other cultures and languages. And Mrs. Rich Creek is from Guatemala. And oftentimes we share about, my background is from Mexico, and we talk a little bit about the similarities and the differences between the two countries and the two cultures, right? And so one of the things that we want to really just emphasize, and what I know for myself is the pride that my parents instilled in me with my culture and language. I wore it as a protection. I felt like it protected me from some difficult moments growing up as I figured out life, right? And so the other thing that some of you mentioned and that I mentioned as well is language. If you don't use it, you lose it, right? So when I don't use Spanish as much, I don't feel as proficient. I studied French for 4 years and was able to speak it, read it, write it, listen, all of it. Then I never used it, and now I'm not proficient in French. So we encourage you to use your native language, your home language. If it's English, to then be curious and add other languages. And with that, I'm going to, first of all, thank Ruth, Maribel, and Isabella for joining in this dialogue with us, and turn it over to Mrs. Rich Creek as she's going to talk about some resources, some tools.
Thank you, Ms. Martha. So I want to discuss today some programs that will be helpful in supporting your student English learners learn at home also, not just in the school, but also at home. So sometimes we go like, ¿qué dijo? we don't understand. So I wanted to provide some services to you, some resources. Next slide, please, Dr. Cisneros. So one of the tools that will be helpful is also being organized. I know checking your homework, your students' homework, if they're little, make sure that there is check homework with Dojo. I know some of you guys use that, or your student might be using Google Classroom, but use reminders. I think that would be helpful in English. There's a time and a place for everything. Yes, go to school, do your home rest, and then do your homework. So if you don't know what is scheduled as homework, you might miss some assignments. So whatever works for you, for your student or for you. I like writing sometimes better. Some people prefer like agendas on the phone, whatever works, calendar on the fridge. And I have 3 kids, and they're all different, use different sources to keep themselves organized. So these are some of the suggestions. Next, please, Dr. Cisneros. So Rosetta Stone is a program that we at the district utilize for some of the students that are new to the language. Some of you mentioned if your student doesn't have this program yet, and they are recently arrived to the country, they need a little support and help. I can check if you call me at the number I gave you, if your student qualifies. Some of them might already have it, and you might not know about it, but we can check. So again, this is a resource that we pay for it at the district. So there's a specific site that we go to, and we create that to help you and your student a little bit to get that supplemental resource to acquire language. Like I mentioned before, I had to use a lot of the dictionaries. There are many resources online to help you now. So again, this one we pay for it, and there's a little bit, if you click on the links, there's a little bit more information about each of them. And again, this presentation will be available to you. Also, we give it to students that have been enrolled in a U.S. school system for less than 3 years. Duolingo, that might be an app application that you are already familiar with. But if you're not, I recommend that as well. This one is for learning languages. I put my children to learn Spanish, and there's games, and it's very interactive. That's really well with younger students. But there's so many languages to learn, more than 19. So it's a fun one. So you can create an account for yourself and for your children and create groups. So I remember I used to do that for my kids, and when they got only 1 star in each lesson, I would make them repeat it. I'm like, no, go back. Okay, next one, please. So Duolingo ABC is a little bit different. This is an application. It's only an app format, so you can download it on your phone. And it's recommended for students that are in pre-K to 1st grade. Those little ones that are learning, the vowels, the consonants, and so on. It's free. There's more than 300 lessons. I was playing with it, and it shows you how to write your name and so on. It's very interactive, and again, it's free. So next, please. Google Translate, many of you may have it. A lot of people, when they come to the district, they're really just recently arrived, and some of them don't know how to use this. It's free. We put it in the iPads that we provide for some, for the students that are eligible. But again, it's a free resource that you can use. Now they even have a camera feature, and you can just hover over the material you want translated. That might be helpful with, if you are challenged with understanding the homework of your student, that would be a good tool. And, again, it's free. You can download it on your phone, and there is so many languages available. The other day, a family that spoke only Turkish came, and I, got Google Translate, and we were very able to communicate with each other. And there was one person that spoke a little English, and she was able to verify that the information was correct. So again, it's not a exact science, but it has come a long way, but it's very helpful. So, and these are just some ideas that can help you to help your student develop language. And even for you, all these resources are free to you, so please explore them. For example, TCM library, which is Teacher Created Materials Online Library. Our district pay for it, and I give it to all the students. Anybody can use it. It's really online books. It comes from really, kindergarten to 5th grade, and you might say, well, my student is already in high school. When you are learning a language, you kind of need to go back to the basics, and it's very helpful. So the book reads to you, so you're able to listen while you are learning pronunciation and so on. So it's very useful. There's also in Espanol, if you want to keep helping your students to learn, there is Cuentos de Hadas en Español, which is fairy tales in Spanish. They also have books in French and other languages, Italian, German, and so on. El Estudiante Digital is more like for an adult. There's a lot of free courses to learn from there, including English. Footsteps to Brilliance is through the Riverside County of Education, and it's free access to books. So if you or your child, you can't make it to the library, these are good sources for you to use. Next, please. Again, this one is TCM. I just wanted to highlight it more because it's a resource we pay for. Please use it. So I give it to all the students that are, even those that are already are only English only. It will be helpful for those elementary students to, acquire more, practice their reading. So it's fun. And some of the things that, seem simple, but they really are huge is, for example, when your son or daughter sends you a text, sometimes we are like, we think, oh, it's just a text, it's not a formal document. My kids know that I correct them on some things, so I'm like, I'm not your buddy. Use that bad or bad grammar with your friends, but not with me. I always correct my son when he tells me some story about me and my friend, and I'm like, no. And he knows I'm looking for my friend and I. So anyway, but if you correct them, especially in Spanish, not can be done in a nice way. I know that our kids don't want us to nag them necessarily, but in a constructive way where you elevate your students, elevate the language. Let's learn with, keep it as it is. So Grammarly is also helpful in correcting, when your student maybe has written some essay. I still use it for, helping me with maybe some things I missed when I'm writing. So and all these are helpful tools. Colorín Colorado, there's books there, and a lot of also good information for the parents and articles that might be very helpful. Next, please. And here, tutor.com, our district has a contract with them, and your student can use that through ClassLink. If your student needs tutoring, there is always an opportunity for you to ask at the school site and see what they can offer to help you, because there might be something that you're not aware of, and bringing that up into the light can be very useful for you and your student.
Commissioner, I'd like to just maybe highlight that, because I think that's such a gem of our district that a lot of family members don't know that we have. We've had it for, I believe, 2 years. We do have tutor.com, and it's 24 hours a day free tutoring for any grade, any subject. So through your child's ClassLink, and they know how to get on there through ClassLink, and you can also reach out to the principal, the counselor, or the teacher and ask them about ClassLink. You can go into tutor.com and you can upload a picture or type in the question, and then somebody will, at all times of the day, we hope that your child isn't online at 2 in the morning, but maybe it's the night before a big test. Sometimes students pull all-nighters. You can go in and somebody will give you live assistance. What they do not do is they do not do video calls like this, because we also want to protect our students' safety online, our students' privacy online. All the tutors have been vetted, have been verified by the company, but we just want to make sure that there is that safety net, I suppose. But anyways, I just wanted to highlight that tutor.com is available and it's free now.
Thank you. It's very important information. So, and there's also Harvey Mudd College you can call, and students from 4th to 12th grade can get assistance for math. So, I won't go into each one for the sake of time, but you can go into the next slide. Okay, so here, if you click on that link, I attach basically a pamphlet that it's in English and Spanish with all these resources as well. So it's kind of a summary of helpful information. So please feel free to use it, print it. Let's use those resources. And there's a couple more that I want to highlight. In the next slide, please. USALearns.org. I always send our parents to adult education, but I know that sometimes the schedule hours, it just doesn't work for the parent, or there's, a limit to the space available for spots available for learning in person. So this is a easy resource. You can just create an account with your email, and they have a lot. It's in English, but it's to learn English. They even have citizenship classes and job skills for those in healthcare, and they're always updating. So check it out, please. The next one, and because I'm a community worker. Next slide, please, Dr. Cisneros. Connect IE, there's resources everywhere, but this is very helpful. If you can go online, it's very easy. You choose the language, you state what you are looking for, put the zip code, and you'll get a list of resources. So if you don't feel that comfortable, you can also dial 211, open 24 hours, 7 days a week. So again, and if you need additional information, please contact our office. I'll be glad to help you. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Cisneros.
Wonderful. So thank you, Ms. Rich Creek, and thank you, future Dr. Martinez. I love saying that. I can't wait to be able to call you Dr. Martinez, and maybe Dr. Rich Creek one day. I don't know. Thank you for all of these resources. We'd like to open up the discussion now. Would any of our parents like to ask a question, make a comment, maybe something didn't really make sense, or you'd like more information? Okay, well then, with that, it is 5:59. We have the phone number here to Ms. Martinez's office and directly to Ms. Rich Creek. Thank you, Ms. Rich Creek. She's also written her email in the chat box. If you need additional assistance, you would have some questions about, I know that Ms. Martinez briefly spoke earlier about the dual language immersion program. We do have the dual language immersion program at 4 of our schools: Terrace Elementary, Valley View Elementary, Loma Vista Middle School, and La Sierra High School in Spanish and English. Every English language learner throughout the district is entitled to integrated and designated dual language English language development, to support their mastery of the English language. So we do have an entire department and an entire team of people whose job it is to support your child to be excellent and to develop their language. Ms. Martinez, I'd like to give you the last word.
Yes, well, just thank you so much for joining us this evening. I know your time is precious. Everyone's time is precious. It's important, right? There's a lot of things that we have to take care of, but we really appreciate you joining us this evening. And one of the biggest things as we continue to promote multiliteracy and appreciation for multicultural society, I do want to just give a huge thank you to our interpreter today, Mrs. Arvide, an example of the power of having proficiency in more than one language, right? Is being able to, through your job as an interpreter, right, connect many people, be the bridge through language to different cultures, to different groups. So she's an example of what we hope for everyone is to just build that biliteracy, that multiliteracy. Those of you that listen to her in Spanish, you know what I'm talking about. Isn't it beautiful? Her Spanish is just beautiful. I'm in awe all the time. Muchas gracias a todos. Se les agradece de todo corazón.
Have a good night.
Thank you, Dr. Cisneros, Mrs. Rich Creek, and the wonderful
Thank you.
Mrs. Arvide.
All right.